So we all know the customer is, they're having high demands. It's changing. They want to have all the convenience, the personalization. At the same time, the data needs to be anonymized, so they don't want to share the data. So the corporates are struggling. So it's difficult to really impress the customers nowadays. So we're all struggling with that, but we have the technologies and new ideas. So that's what we're on the one hand looking at. And then from the Volkswagen Group side, saying we're moving from a car manufacturer to a mobility provider. That is the other aspect, because we see the customers, they don't want to own the cars. I mean, still, but it's shifting. And now living in Tel Aviv, I have to say, I can understand. It really, I mean, it's tough in the morning, and it's crowded with cars. So of course, why would you want to own a car here in Tel Aviv? It's not necessary. So both aspects, really looking at the personalization aspect and then the mobility. That is the reason why we said we have to have a morning talk about that, because we see that our brands, our Volkswagen Group brands, are working on those topics, and this is what Connect is about: bringing together the needs, the topics that we are focusing on. And we see it our role to give something back to you, to the ecosystem, to share with you what our, not just topics are, but what our challenges are, and what we're looking at, and why we're looking at, what technologies are we using. So this is today's talk. We have a nice morning, different aspects from the corporate, but at the same time from the academy, then from the startup side, so we can all learn, we can discuss. And yeah, I'm very delighted, excited, look forward to this morning, and I hope we have then also some time for mingling. And I can welcome now our keynote speaker, Peter Harris, our Chief Customer Officer, who will give his vision about coming from mass communication to mass personalization. All right, so warm welcome.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today, talking to you. Next one.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so what I'm going to do today is talk to you a little bit about personalizing the relationship with the customer. And to do that, I'm actually going to talk about three things. I'm going to talk about the customer, I'm going to talk about marketing, and I'm going to talk about technology, and explain how these three things come together to enable us to actually personalize that relationship with the customer, which is critical as we move forward. So I think I've got this fancy title, Chief Customer Officer, so it's probably appropriate to start out by talking a little bit about the customer. And I think this is an interesting chart. This is actually based on EU5 data, Euro 5 data, and what it shows is actually today, the number of people that own vehicles, 16 plus, is actually still really high. It's still about 83%, and it still shows that owned vehicles are the most frequent use of transport. So on one side, you could say that our traditional business is still quite strong, which is probably perhaps more exaggerated in Europe, and less the case in China, and perhaps even here, based on the number of scooters I've seen moving around streets here and things. But on the flip side, if you look down at the bottom of this chart, you see all of these new mobility services coming into play. And while the frequency of usage is not that high today, it's going to grow. And this is what the auto industry is banking on, the future, these mobility services, and customers changing to new forms of transport and mobility, which is why our aspiration is to be a leading global provider of mobility and not just providing vehicles. So this means we've got to really start to think about our customer and start curating new ways of engaging with our customer based on these new modes of transport, etc. And this is why personalization starts to become really, really important. I mean, it's interesting, today, 90% of customers say they like the appeal of personalization, which on one side you hear all these issues about data privacy and data protection, but on the other side, customers want personalization. And why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they want to have a personal relationship with a brand? And when we start to ask customers, well, what does that mean? What does personalization actually mean? There's a few criteria here. A third of them talk about customization. I mean, that's actually offering something specific to their needs and to their wants. And if you think about the automotive industry and how people go in and they search on the websites for our vehicles, right now there really is not any kind of customized experience. You land on our website and everyone basically gets the same landing page and the same offer. And we can change that, and I'll show you how in a second. You know, they want personal service. They want to walk in somewhere, or they want a brand to offer them services specific to their needs at that time. And again, we think about our industry, which is quite traditional. You know, you walk into a dealership, you see the guy in the shiny suit coming towards you, and the first thing you want to do is run, but you know you're not going to get any kind of personal service. He's not going to be any more knowledgeable about you and what your needs are, and what kind of vehicle you've been looking for. So there's an opportunity to change that. And then also, discounted offers. Again, is something that can be personal. And I'll talk to you a little bit later about loyalty programs. But again, here we can start to reward customers for their loyalty and for their patronage. And that's something that we should start to look at as well. So all of these things are coming together, and customers demand a little bit more of this. And so if you look at our business and where we are today, you know, it's a pretty traditional retail business. It's mass marketing, it's dealer-driven, and it's pretty analog today. Where we need to get to, I believe, is actually move from mass marketing to mass personalization. We need to have this one-to-one relationship with every single customer that we engage with. And that's possible today. Technologically, that's possible. And I think if you look at the industry over the last 3 years or so, I mean, we've been talking about digital transformation. I've been working on this a lot in our company, in actually focusing on the customer journey, trying to digitalize that, organizing all of our data, building digital assets, etc. And I'd say most of the industry has done a pretty good job at talking the digital talk, but I'd say few of us are really walking the digital talk. And that's really the next stage, and that's really getting to this one-to-one relationship with customers where everything is digital driven. We've got a single view of every single customer, and we're able to act in real time to engage with that customer. So there's still a long way for our industry to go. And what makes it even more challenging is the industry is still successful. If you look at that first chart, we're still selling a lot of cars, and people don't want to change in the industry because the industry is working. But it's going to change, and it's going to change quickly with the arrival of these mobility services. So that's really the challenge. I mean, and if you think about any kind of relationship, mutual understanding and reciprocity are the key for any successful relationship. We all have personal relationships. That's important for everyone. 100 years ago, today, in the digital age, it's just as important, as long as he's not on the dating side. I'm sure he's not. And if you think about that reciprocity and that importance, that's no different for a relationship that a customer has with a brand. And a lot of the more digital companies, they understand this. They get this. Companies like Amazon, you know, they'll personalize that experience with you. You go shopping, they'll make recommendations just for you based on what you want and what you need. Netflix will make recommendations on your previous viewing and personalize that relationship with you. We're not there yet, and we need to really start looking at this. So what this means is that we basically need to move from mass marketing, traditional forms of mass marketing, including things like sponsorship, broad-based television advertising, outdoor print. I mean, these are all important forms of customer engagement. There'll be a role for them, but we've got to get away from mass marketing and really start to get to this notion of mass personalization. Okay? And this is obvious on the online world. I'll show you how to do this. It's pretty obvious on the online world how we can do this. But also, it's interesting on the offline world as well. People are starting to get this and understand that you, customers, want this personal relationship. I like a Coca-Cola one there. You know, based on location, you can congratulate someone and talk to them specifically as they drive by your sign. So location-based services are going to enable many, many of us to do this. And of course, when we start moving into autonomous vehicles and things like that, this is something that we need to seriously start looking at. So, I mean, what it's really about is acting on the specific triggers and giving the customer the message when it's most important. Of course, this is a wholly data-driven approach to do this. And there's a couple of examples here, that you can look at. So, if we know that a customer is coming in and he's buying accessories and child seats, then we should be talking to them about safety and not about horsepower, for instance. Through sensors on vehicles, we'll know if a vehicle has had a crash or it's had a ding. Instead of terrifying the owner of that, let's talk to him about collision insurance and give him a message there that's hopefully going to make him feel more comfortable. Once we start engaging people in loyalty programs and we're collecting that data on them, let's thank them for their patronage. Let's offer them something special for a weekend. These are all things that we can do in our industry right now, and we need to do that. I mean, at the end of the day, for any brand out there, it's it's all about today, owning the moment. And that's what it is. It's the right message at the right time and being as relevant as possible. And as we start getting into future mobility services, we're going to be collecting vast amounts of data. Companies here, like Anadol, they enable all of that. We collect all of this data, and we start now being in the position where we can act on this. We need to be able to act on this in real time. So it's a real shift. It's a real change in how we engage and how we market. And the scary thing for our industry is we've got a pretty traditional journey, our customer journey, all the way from building awareness through to ownership. And what's happening is there's third-party intermediaries that are now starting to pop up along our space, whether it's through auto scouts, online car-selling platforms, mobility services. All these companies down here are starting to engage with our customers already. And the scary thing is, if they are able to start building a direct relationship with our customers, then we're kind of dead, actually. I mean, this is the reality, the brutal truth is, if we lose that customer relationship across this journey, and others take it, then our business becomes nothing more than really a provider of mental things. So this is a real risk for the industry, and something we're facing, which is why we need to start getting that single view of the customer and building that customer relationship. Okay? So, how do we do this? Really, there's 4 key things to think about as we think about personalization and how we build that relationship. And the first thing we need to do is actually digitalize and connect. And that means looking at the entire customer journey that I showed you previously. It's about taking every step of that journey and digitalizing it. And then being able to connect all of the points across that journey, all of the touch points, and then being able to get that single view of the customer. And today, I'd say most automotive companies, they don't have that single view of the customer. You've got the customer view from the dealer, you've got it at the market level, you've got it at the OEM, which means we can't have a personal relationship because there might be 10 of you that we're talking to giving different messages, which is not good as well. So this whole connecting and digitalizing is critical. The other piece then is once you've got all of that data, is knowing how to act on it, how to analyze it, and then being able to engage in real time, again, with the customer. So that's the collecting and the acting. And then the enablers that are going to make this possible for us is obviously the technology side, which is critical, and that's the big shift. And then even harder is for the organization then to be able to deal with this, because it's still a pretty traditional business, which means we've still got pretty traditional functions when it comes to customer engagement and marketing. And this means whole sets of new skills and things that need to come into play to do this, which is probably actually the hardest thing, for large companies, for large legacy companies that are trying to personalize this relationship. So a lot of challenges. But the funny thing is, technologically, it's all possible. It's all possible right away. And that's why we like coming here, because we see so many companies that are able to offer solutions in this space and make this possible. So, okay. I think in the past when we spoke about personalization, really it was about basic CRM. You send a few leaflets to people, you send a direct mail piece, maybe an email. And today, the reality is you can personalize the relationship all the way across the customer journey, whether it's an unknown person, someone who's just really nothing more than a cookie. Those cookies are incredibly valuable. I'll show you how. You can build a one-to-one personal relationship with an individual that you don't know. I'll talk about a BMP in a second, and why that is a very, very valuable piece of equipment. And then you can get into the people that you do know, and now there's much more sophisticated ways of engaging with customers through marketing technology. Companies like SAP and Salesforce, have much more advanced ways of dealing with CRM and stuff, and I'll talk to you about that as well. So the reality is, it's all possible, but at the core of this is technology. And technology is really the key enabler for this personalization. And you can see this here. So if you look on this chart, both on the anonymous side and on the known side, you've kind of got the traditional marketing forms up here with programmatic marketing, search, personalized digital experiences, emails, SMS, and stuff on the CRM side. And at the bottom, you've got all of this data. And the amounts of data that we have on customers is vast. It's absolutely vast across the organization. And that's why these advertising technology solutions and these marketing technology solutions are really the bridge between all of this data and the marketing and bring all of this together for us. And that's really what's transforming what we're doing and making it possible to actually have that personalized relationship with the customer. Everybody know what a DMP is? Or no? No? Okay, so DMP is a really useful bit of kit Everyone knows what cookies are, right? You'd be surprised. A lot of people I spoke to people do something else as well. But cookies. Anyhow, what the cookies are really, really valuable, as I said. Any idea how many cookies across the group we have the potential to analyze on a yearly basis? It's about 3 billion cookies, that are coming in. That's everyone landing on our website continuously. So that's a lot of cookies. Any idea how many we're actually managing in real time and using? Kind of 0. Maybe a little bit more, but not many. And so we're missing an opportunity here. But with these cookies, what we're able to do is we're able to take those cookies, and every one of those cookies has a lot of information on people's browsing history, what they've been doing, where they've been on the site, what they've been looking at. We can merge that with third-party data, and then we can start to really think about how we can personalize that relationship with the customer with content personalization. I'll show you how in a second, and also through programmatic marketing. So this little piece of kit here is kind of like a big cookie jar that holds everything and enables us to engage with all of those billions of cookies that land on our site. And to do that, you get into the content personalization side as well, with dynamic creative optimization. And this is also new, but what it means is if we know that a guy's been on our site, this is a Seat example, and he's been looking at a Seat Leon, he did this in the configurator, and he was looking at cars that were white, in a certain price range, most people who come on our websites, they will come back again. And so there's absolutely no reason why we can't serve up an ad that has the white Leon with an offer that's relevant for him in the right environment. Today, anyone who comes back to our websites, and this is the same across the industry, I think, they'll get the same landing page as everyone else. But look how easy it is to actually just personalize that experience and let the customer, the potential customer, come back and have an individual personalized experience on the website. So this is a simple example, but it's possible. And we've been talking with some companies here. We did some stuff with a company called Playbuzz last year, which wasn't exactly this, but this kind of idea is easy to do as well. So this is one example of kind of dynamic creative and what DMP enables us to do and personalize that experience. Easy, but we're not doing it. The other thing about DMPs, which is really useful, is actually they make marketing incredibly efficient. It's automated, but it means that we have a view across the organization of people that have then purchased a vehicle. It means we're not retargeting people and paying and bidding up prices of advertising when we're competing against ourselves and things as well. So it actually offers a lot of transparency on all these anonymous users as well, which is also useful and improves the conversion rates and things like that. So DMP is important, but on the other side, when we start marketing to identify contacts, I usually don't brag about individual companies, but you've got to look at companies like Salesforce and the technology that they have now to enable us to engage with customers in real time. I mean, they've got a lot of big cloud-based solutions and applications for engaging with customers. You can get Marketing Cloud, Sales Community, and all of these tools now enable us again to build personalized journeys with our customers. So we can build personalized journeys, and then they enable people across the entire organization to have that single view of the customer in real time. So you can see whether you're in the dealer, whether you're in the market, or at the headquarters, exactly what's happening and build these journeys. So again, very, very powerful tools that are in place now to enable us to have this personalization, which is so critical. Another thing that's really useful, and this is something that hasn't been really that prevalent in the automotive industry, is reward programs. I think if you look at travel companies and leisure companies, they've got this. Companies like Sephora, they've got fantastic loyalty programs that are rewarding customers with their patronage and their loyalty. But the nice thing about a loyalty program is it actually enables you, with the customer's consent, to collect vast amounts of data, use that data, and then the customer's benefiting, obviously, because they're getting rewarded for their patronage and their loyalty. So it's kind of a win-win situation. As we move from maybe one engagement a year with the customer, typically a person buys a car, they're coming for a service the next year, so we'll probably have 3 interactions with them. As we move into the mobility space, and we're actually engaging with customers on weekly, even a daily basis, there's a real opportunity now to start to build a much closer relationship with customers. And that's why we're looking at this whole concept of reward programs now and loyalty programs to enable us to keep the customers in our ecosystem. And it's actually pretty straightforward. The concept is actually pretty easy. If you think of a loyalty program, what it does is basically aggregate data across vast amounts of touch points. Kind of looking at these points and the account management, you're taking all that information, you're gaining customer insights, and then again, through that, you're able to then offer one-to-one experiences to the customer. So this is something that's happening in our group. It's not confidential. We've announced we're going to create a loyalty program, and we've got a pilot already running, actually, which is launching in Austria, where we're looking across all of the touch points. Of course, not just buying a car, but actually looking at people's driving behavior, rewarding them for good driving behavior, rewarding them for recommendations. So the whole concept of gamification starts to come in here as well, across multiple touch points as well. So this is really interesting. It's just starting, very new in our industry, but I think something we're going to see more and more of as we move to that personalized relationship. But, there's a challenge, as I said before. This is not easy. So it all sounds very easy technologically, but for large companies and legacy companies, to make this shift, it's hard for the organization to do this. You've got legacy processes that are in place which make it difficult. I mean, sometimes we engage with startups here, and it can take us 3 or 4 months to onboard startups because we don't have the process in place to do that. So, these are all the challenges that we face. We don't have necessarily the right knowledge in place to use all of these systems that we have. We're not structured correctly. You've got IT on one side of the organization, you've got marketing on the other. All of these now in this future will need to come together as well and make it possible for everyone to work as a non-siloed entity. This collaborative approach is critical. So a lot of changes and challenges in doing this, but like I said before, it's not the technology that's prohibiting us, it's actually the structures that we have in place as well. But as I said, it's critical. These customers want this, and this is something that we need to be able to deliver in real time now and not tomorrow. So big opportunities. I think the reality is what's eventually going to happen. So if you're standing here as a marketing person, you probably don't want to hear this, but based on what I showed you, I think all of this stuff is actually going to become much more automated. And just like we're going to have self-driving cars in the future, there's going to be AI-based systems kind of doing all of this in real time. You're actually not going to need that many people doing this, which is not good for the individual, but again, it'll probably offer a much more personalized experience far quicker than anyone in the department could do that on our own. So that's probably a little bit into the future, but that's definitely where it's going. So hopefully I've given you a flavor of just what it means to us, why it's important, and how we can potentially get there. So I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you. Yeah.
Bringing the focus back to startups, like
Yeah.
you said before. What would you say is the best timing for a startup to actually start using these technologies? For example, I'm from a startup which is still in the developing stage, and we're exactly at the time where we have the leads and we have POCs, but we're not selling yet, and
What's your start? What kind of whatever you mean?
we're developing a deep learning based chip.
Yeah. Okay. And your question is to start using this for what purpose?
For either brand awareness or POCs.
If you're engaging with customers, I think it's much easier for a startup. But you can start. If you're able to collect customer data and you're able to analyze that in real time and act on it, then which I'm sure you can do, then I would do it right away. If you're talking about engaging with customers, this is what you have to be doing. That's why it's so much easier for new businesses, digital-based businesses to do this, because it's kind of obvious actually. So as soon as you're collecting customer data and you want to engage with customers, act on it in real time, segment it to the best of your ability. One of the things I didn't say is for that DMP. The beauty of that DMP is that you can create many segments. So you can specifically market people that have looked at a white car on this date on this page. That's the key, is to create as many micro segments as you can and then market to those specifics. So do it now. Act on it now. That's what we're doing. Yeah.
You mentioned this elusive.
This what?
The elusive customer view. What is this customer view? You mentioned customer. So what is customer?
What a single customer view. Okay. What I'm referring to is being able to have, it's kind of what we refer to as the golden record. So if you're a customer of Skoda, for instance, or any one of our brands, you're going to be engaging with multiple touch points. You may have a relationship with the dealer, you may be buying services, mobility services. What we have to know is who you are once, not who you are with the dealer and who you are with the mobility service and who you are on the website. So it's you as a person and taking all of the data that you leave behind and being able to aggregate that and see everything that is relevant to you. So that's what I mean when it's the single customer view. It's knowing everything about the individual with their consent, of course, if they give their consent, and then being able to act on that. And that's possible. We have that. It's just today it's fragmented everywhere. That's the customer view. So it's tracking in real time.
Name products.
Yeah, behaviors, likes, what you like, what's important to you, what your needs are. All of these things are out there. I mean, data is telling us that. Of course, we need consent of people. That's critical, but it's all there. It's just a matter of acting on it. Yeah.
In this whole journey from becoming from moving from the car manufacturing to becoming a service provider and closing this technology gap of business systems and customer management systems, to what extent are you planning to close it internally with your own capabilities?
So to what extent, what are we planning to?
Close this technology gap with your own IT capabilities developed internally,
Yeah.
and how much you are relying on vendors?
Yeah, it's a good question. So on that previous chart where I was talking about knowledge, it was one of the core capabilities. I'd say today, most of that knowledge is not within the organization, or it's with a few key people. And what happens is those people leave and the knowledge walks out the door. It's critical that we have that knowledge in-house as well. And that's one of the big shifts, is that we're able to build that capability internally so that we understand. It doesn't mean we have to do everything, but we've got to understand it. That example about the cookies and all those billions of cookies that we're not using, it's because no one really understands what these things are and how they can be valuable. We need to have people that understand the value of these and can act on it, and then maybe we'll have a third party manage them and provide the insights for us. But we have to build that capability. But there's a gap, and I'd say there's a gap across the industry on this as well. So it's important, and not just on everything to do on the technological side. We need software. We're big on hardware. We're big on engineers. We don't have enough software to other business at all. Big opportunity for that. Yeah.
What depth of personalization will you go into?
What depth? I mean, ideally, the vision, as I said at the beginning, is a one-to-one personal relationship with every single person. It's possible.
I'll give you a straight question. Would you tune the car? Would you change the engine to personalize to the customer? Would you change the exhaust system? What?
I wouldn't say we change it unless the customer wants it, but we would know if you came in and you wanted more horsepower, we would have the ability to make you an offer or to show you a model that has the type of horsepower or performance that you may need versus you may be more interested in safety, then we would come at you like that. So I think personalization is being able to act on the person's needs and being able to make the offer that they want. Does that answer your question? Let's try again.
More or less.
What did I answer?
I understand that you don't have it. It's difficult to personalize, at least right now, to that extent. So that's...
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you maybe a different example. We know based on, most of our cars are going to be connected soon. So as those vehicles become more connected, and we're able to see how you drive, for instance, and we can see that you're a more sporty driver and a more performance-oriented driver, we then may make an offer to you in the car, in the vehicle, for the performance package, so that you can get more out of the vehicle. All of that is part of it, absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yep.
So when you think about the emerging competition, Waymo and so on, all the big technology companies moving into mobility, of course, a lot of the services that we rely on for personalized marketing. And personalization is certainly something that people want, right? But they will also measure Google, Facebook, even though they are kind of a little bit challenged right now. They will measure a Volkswagen maybe different when it comes to personalization and what is spooky and so on and so forth. So how do you think about that? It's friend and phone.
That's why I had those guys on the chart. That's why I said that those third-party intermediaries, those companies are definitely, like you said, they're friend and foe. But I think if you look at our total ecosystem, and you look, I think we have across the world, close to 100 million vehicles on the road. That's the parking lot right now. You look at that ecosystem, and then you start looking at the services that we're going to provide. If you aggregate all that together, it's pretty big, and that's why we want to actually make that ecosystem also a little bit stickier and keep people in it. And that's why things like the reward program are important, because then we attract people in and keep them in. And there may be cooperations with companies like this, but we need to make sure that our ecosystem is also strong enough to keep people as well.
Jonathan, I want to say first of all, thanks a lot for talking. Very exciting. We have been speaking, or you've been speaking about the customer journey with the traditional sense of ownership of the car. What are you thinking about when we're talking about car sharing, the future, younger economies that are thinking about car sharing? How is personalization going to come into effect there?
Yeah. So the journey obviously is not going to be as linear. That journey is going to be much more sporadic and much more frequent. And that's why when we look at these services, I think the most important thing is that we have an identification for the customer. We have a login, our login, not necessarily a Facebook or a Google one. That would be an example where they will be full. We want our login, and as soon as we've got that customer locked into our system, then we're able to collect data continuously and personalize that relationship. So for the mobility services, it's all about having the single customer ID, as I said before, with that single view, and then being able to collect all of that data with their consent and act on it. And in mobility services, that's why, again, the loyalty program, reward them for their service, reward them for their patronage, etc. It all comes into play there. So in some ways, it's almost easier to do that if we're starting from scratch. I think on legacy business, it's actually a little bit harder. I think it's easier to do it that way, but that's the idea. The login. Right. One more. Last one.
What about privacy, GDPR?
Yeah, that's what I said. So that's why I said at the beginning, privacy and GDPR, especially in Europe, critical. It's all being passed. Obviously, that's the most important thing is to have the customer's consent. But 90% of people also want personalization. So you kind of got to balance the two. But of course, you have to abide by that.
You do have the ability of the right to be forgotten.
Yeah, I mean, if a customer gives consent, which they do, when the customer joins the loyalty program and gives consent, then they've given consent. So you can't do it without consent, but as soon as you have consent, most customers click pretty quickly. If you look on the website, cookies, etc., I'm sure you click it instantly. Last one. Okay.
Which companies do you perceive as the North Star in terms of customer experience
But that's like I said,
in the industry and outside the industry?
I think in the industry, I don't know if there is one right now. In terms of really offering the end-to-end personalization, I think we need to get there as an industry. Outside, I think Amazon's got this personalization. I think that's it. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Peter. You can keep on asking questions after. Now I'm honored to introduce Dr. Ofer Zellermeyer, that teaches two of the leading private colleges in Israel, the IDC and Ono Academic College. Ofer will give us his point of view.
Is it better with it? Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm really happy to be here. Due diligence. This beautiful lady was my student once, and I see a lot of students here, so this makes me really proud, and I hope we'll have a great time. Thank you, Peter. I think some of the things that I'll talk about towards the end of my lecture will actually relate to what Peter said. And here is what I'm going to talk about. A few months ago, I posted this article on LinkedIn, which compared two traditional industries, the automobile industry and the higher education industry. I criticized the higher education industry for basically doing nothing, and I gave compliments to the automobile industry because it actually looks towards the future and moves in its direction. It's not stagnant. Why can I say this? Where do I bring the knowledge, or why should you listen to me? I have a PhD in decision sciences from Carnegie Mellon University. Decision sciences now is termed often as behavioral economics. It's the science that deals with how people make a decision and how sometimes they rely on heuristics and therefore makes make mistakes. And I also have a PhD in marketing, and I teach consumer behavior and marketing research and so forth. This is that's how I spend half of my time. The other half I'm in the industry. Just now I finished serving 9 years at Delek Motors. 9 years it's still low, so I had to leave, unfortunately, but it's an awesome company. It's the distributor in Israel of BMW, Mazda, and Ford. And it also is invested in startups. The one most known is, of course, Mobileye. That made a lot of money of it, but there are many others who are newer. The other company I'm with, still at directorate, is Spot. It's a daughter company of Altis. It's a huge communication group. We have cable and internet and cellular. And there, of course, customer journey is a huge thing because we have repeated consumers and churn is a big issue. So I bring all this knowledge together when I speak to you and try to give you some insights. In the last year, I also served on a committee of the National Road Safety Authority, and this is similar to ETSC in Europe and NISTA in the States. And our mandate was to deal with smartphone accidents. And that's actually made me focus on the time that's right now. Not what will happen 30 years from now, I'll get to that in a minute, but what will happen in the next 5 years. Just a word on safety, I want to speak a lot about this. In the United States alone, every day, 10 teenagers are being killed because they're texting and driving. So before we'll be in the future, there are things we need to do now. This is a safety issue, but even if we talk about business, things we need to consider the near future as we are talking about what will happen in the far future. What will happen in the far future, we all know. I wrote about this in the article, and in this room I'm sure it's pretty common knowledge. Cars will be autonomous, they'll be electric, and people will share it. But there is a big vagueness about when this will happen. People within the industry and startupists, of course, think that this will happen tomorrow. This is the nature of business. We will not be doing things quickly enough if we want to be optimistic. But coming from the outside, I'm not sure it will be happening so soon. I gave a talk to the airline industry in Frankfurt half a year ago, and if we talk about airlines, you all remember this. This one was introduced when? When was the Concorde first introduced? 76. 40 years ago. And they called it the word shrinker. Everybody was really excited about how this supersonic thing will change the world. And it flew for 23 years and actually flew a lot. No one made money. Air France, British Airways, the people who built the Concorde, nobody made money. Government subsidized it. 23 years after it started flying, it stopped. The Concorde failed to change how we fly. Academically, we can ask the question, why has the speed of flight remained roughly constant over so many years? But that's interesting. The thing is, who made money while other people were dreaming about the Concorde? And that's something that I'll get you in a slide to think about. What will happen in the meantime? And just now, 40 years later, actually 2 years ago, there are new talks about new supersonic airplanes, and I'm sure supersonic flights will happen. Just the time is much longer than people expect. All people live in Tel Aviv know this, right? What's this logo? Code, right? Because I teach students, and I see hundreds of students every week, I'm a good seismograph of new trends. 4 years ago, at the board meeting at HOT, I told my management friends, Houston, we're going to have a problem. People are actually using contents, not ours, not our competitors. They're just grabbing What was the reaction of the board? Don't worry about it, it's stealing. People are not thieves. Well, what's happening? Actually, we're all thieves. Not all of us, but people are still using coding. This is absolutely illegal. It's wrong to do it, but the consumers do not perceive it this way. We hoped or saw that all these campaigns that ran in the past and basically stopped infringement of software. There is now very little software piracy. It used to be a huge thing, but there were campaigns and arrests and fines, and it stopped pretty much. But this campaign changed the local phenomenon of stealing software. It did very little for general consumer behavior. People use Kodi. To those who don't know, Kodi is a system that allows you to connect your television set to the world and basically watch World of Thrones or anything you want, sports, freely without paying anybody for the contents that these people created. It's illegal, but it's done at a massive scale. And if we actually accepted it 4 years ago, today, both the satellite industry and the cable industry would be in a better position. But instead, we complained to the regulators, we hoped it would happen, it didn't happen. So, I have no doubt that cars will be autonomous, electric, and shared. But what is going to happen, not in 30 years from now, what will happen in the next 5 years? When you're talking about autonomous vehicles, a lot of people are still afraid. Trying to find this spot. 63% of Americans are afraid of driving a self-driving vehicle. Correctly, the number was 78% last year, so it's declining. And it will be 50% next year, and maybe 25% the year after. But until most people will trust this, this will not be happening commonly. In the far future, I'm sure cars will be autonomous, and to drive a car, you'll actually have to have some kind of a vintage license. Most people will not be allowed to drive cars. And everybody will trust it. It's just like riding the elevator. In the past, you used to have an operator. Today, we do it automatically. But it will take time. Electric vehicles. I took a taxi from the airport here in Israel when I returned 4 days ago. And I spoke with the car driver who had a diesel car. And I asked him, why do you drive diesel and not electric cars? Now there are many cars who are offered electric. And he said, I don't want the radiation. I said, what are you talking about? He said, no, it's very dangerous. It actually doesn't matter at all if this is fake news or real news. If people are afraid of it, it will hinder the spread of electric cars. And with electric cars, we have another issue of how we get rid of the batteries, so it's not going to happen tomorrow. What about shared mobility? This is very new from the Wall Street Journal from 4 days ago. San Francisco denies scooter permits for Bird, Line, Uber, and Lyft. Why? Because when things are shared, nobody is responsible. And when nobody is responsible, people throw away the stuff. They're less responsible if you compare it to their own private property. And then the regulator and other people, other users get mad and they stop it. So by the time the model will actually work well enough that everybody will share it, we will have to invest in this. Therefore, I pose the question, what shall we do while we are waiting for the consumers to let robots drive them together electrically? Again, it's important for me to say, it's not that I do not believe in the future. I do, and I think that the car industry is operating correctly in the fact that it's actually looking far ahead. And I want to suggest that we also can make a lot of money and benefit society by putting some focus on the near future. And I'm not talking next 2 years. That's completely not interesting. I'm saying the car industry is looking 25 years from now, and I'm talking next 5 years. Two interesting phenomenon, and one of them actually bigger touch. Driver license issuing is declining. not in China, but in Japan, in Europe, less people are actually getting driver licenses. In Israel, it's also a phenomenon just starting. When I was 17, there was a competition. Who is going to be the first one to drive? This competition does not exist anymore. People are waiting, and the numbers are give me three. And numbers are getting down, but people are still buying cars. Why are they buying cars? There is a catch-22. When the traffic jams are getting longer, you cannot rely on public transportation to be there fast. You will buy another car. Now we see a lot of cars, a lot of families that have 4 cars, because it's more convenient to spend the time in traffic in another car. So actually the traffic jams become even more extended. To startups, my suggestion, focus on this issue. In the next 5 years, all over the world, traffic jams are going to be a big thing, and if you can give some comfort to users, you'll make money there. Second idea talks about used cars. This actually corresponds really strongly with what Peter said. The auto industry is doing a better and better job in getting in touch digitally with the customer. But what about the customer who buys a second-hand car? Cars are very unique in that sense. If you buy a Samsung television, usually when it's finished, you throw it away. If you buy an iPhone, when it's finished, maybe you'll give it to a kid or a family member. But with cars, it's very rare that the car stays in the family for the duration of its life. So usually it changes 3.5 hands on average, depending on the country. And many people now buy used car that's new to them. What do the auto industry, the brands, they're basically losing those customers. They're allowing another hand to get in between, and then this person who's really excited about a new car is not getting the relation to the brand as much as they can. Just to give one extreme example. In Georgia, the country, not the state, you see a lot of cars that are new to their owners that come from abroad. They come from Japan or from Europe. They are allowed to drive the car with the steering wheel on the other or the wrong side for a period of time, let's say a year, and then there is a big conversion industry there that moves the steering wheel to the other side. Actually, cars come pre-figured to do it. It's not that expensive. But then the person who owns the second-hand car has no connection to the brand so much. Just get the car. This is something that I think both startups, but especially the car industry itself, can tap into and can gain a lot if they do. Thank you very much. Bye.
Sorry for the much better. For the second part of this meetup, we have 3 startups presenting. Some of them are working with our group already. The first one, I would like to invite is Aviv Blanket, the CEO of Enron. And Aviv, actually, before his entrepreneurship era, was TV correspondent, focusing on technology and cars. So Aviv had the pleasure of traveling all over the world, going to brands like Volkswagen, trying out the new cars. So now he's probably knows a lot what the customer is looking for. And thanks a lot. Aviv, go ahead, the floor is yours.
So, does that work? Yes. So, let's embark on a journey to the future. Okay, it's the year 2030, you're getting into the car and the car starts driving by itself. And for the next 20, 30, 40 minutes, you're a captive audience in mobility. Because the self-driving car revolution will create a new currency. And this currency is actually free time. The time you're commuting or going out with friends, and according to Morgan Stanley, this time stands for 600 billion hours free for people to do lots of things. And one of the things people already do in similar situations is actually very interesting, and that is online shopping. Already today in the UK, 20% of all online shopping occurs during commute, not in self-driving cars, but in trains, buses, taxis, Ubers. That's more than $30 billion each year. And in Canada, the average commute commerce spend per user per month is $411. And my predecessor talked about the fact that young people in the US and in other places don't get driver's license like they used to. So if in the 80s, okay, almost 90%, 90% of 19-year-olds had a driver's license, now it's less than 70%. And for 16-year-olds, it used to be 46%, now it's 24%. Really dramatic. What's the reason? Anybody knows? Public transport and this. Uber, Lyft, Didi, Moya. We get a soon-to-be $1.5 trillion industry. And that's the industry we're tapping into, because already today, when you're in an Uber, you're in a self-driving car with a driver. You have free time, you're a captive audience, and that's why Enroute is building this. It's a personalized interaction platform for mobility, personalized and also location-based. And what we do is actually analyze lots of data. First of all, we're analyzing data which is relevant about the ride, the type of the car, the route, the destination. And on the other hand, because we're developing an SDK which is installed into existing mobility apps, we know many things which are relevant about the passenger, their social graph, what they like to do, and I want to give people more than getting them from point A to point B, because that's something that the mobility companies do amazing. And if we add businesses to this equation, we can do something that people tell us is a bit crazy, and that is allowing people to ride for free. So how do people ride for free? There are many ways, but Peter talked about loyalty programs. So what about shopping while in mobility? So let's see Jane. Jane uses her mobility app. Let's call it Ninja Ride. Okay, it can be We, it can be Moya, it can be Get, it can be Uber, but we asked her, listen, last time you saved $12 because you did your shopping while in mobility. And you can see that every product that she adds to her shopping cart, that's like a gamified experience, decreases the amount that she has to pay on the ride until the ride is actually free. So free is very powerful. There's actually a person, a professor called Daniel. He did research about chocolate. He asked people to decide what kind of chocolate they want to have. Truffle by Lindt or Kiss by Hershey, and he said, for the sake of the research, these are the prices. The truffle is 26 cents and the Hershey is 1 cent. Which one, guys, would you take? Who's going for the Swiss one? Ah, you have a great taste. You have a great taste. Who goes for the Hershey? Not a lot of Americans around here. Okay, so actually, 40% of the people went for the Lindt, okay? They have good taste like most of you guys. And because it was in America, 40% went for the Hershey. 20% didn't want chocolate. They were on a diet, doing paleo now, you know, all this stuff. And then Daniel went back to these people and told them, listen, it's your lucky day. Today there is a discount. There's a 1 cent discount actually on the Lindt. So instead of 26 cents, the price now is 25 cents, which is better, right? Yeah? But the same discount goes also to the Hershey. So instead of 1 cent, the Hershey is 0 cents. Everybody saved the same amount, but what happened? 90% of the people went for the free. So not only did Hershey take all the market out of Lindt, it took 50% of the people doing paleo, who didn't want chocolate in the first place. Now imagine that it's not Hershey and Lindt, but Uber and Lyft. Tomorrow Uber has a model that allows people to ride for free. Lyft has to be there. Actually, every other mobility needs to have this ability to allow free rides. And it's not only the free. I don't know that we do not have a sound. But it's a funny moment by this member of the tribe Jerry Seinfeld, somebody wants to sell him something. Would you like to hear about calls, like long distance calls? I want to give you, it's a lead. And he tells him, well, why don't you give me your number and I'll call you back later? And this marketing guy said, well, we're not allowed to do that. And he said, well, now you know how I feel. And shuts down the phone. Anyhow, we did a research, okay? We asked millennials, would you be more motivated to shop if the ride would be free or almost free? So 70% said, yeah, absolutely. 24% said occasionally. Then we asked them, would you prefer a mobility service that allows free or cheaper rides and encourages online shopping? So 56% said yes, and 40% said yes. So our technology is basically has a ladder layer, and that is location-based. So imagine a person, he's in the car. This time, this is a self-driving car. He's in Japan. He wants to buy a cake to his family. So we are tapping into inventory of existing brick-and-mortar shops. So in that way, the passenger gets diverted into the actual shop. So not only is he ride for free, but he can go pick up the cake and order another ride that will take him back home. That generates more growth into the other the mobility companies. That's what we call click and collect. Yeah. So you ride, you click, and you collect. And before I leave you, we did another survey. We sent a bunch of students to Union Station in DC. That is like the central station, Tachana Merkazit of Washington, DC. And we asked them to be Israelis, to stop people getting out of Ubers and Lyfts and buses and trains, and ask them, how did you spend your time? What did you do in your 20, 30, 40 minutes that you had commuting to Union Station? And we went out to do this survey. We thought maybe 3-4% of the people spent time shopping. So we missed a bit. This is the number, 20%. 1 in every 5 people use the time not to be on Facebook or Instagram, not to take a nap or listen to a podcast, but actually shopping. And this is a piece of data we cannot ignore. So we're starting with mobility services, but the future is the self-driving car, not owned, and then the experience will be an even more immersive experience. So we believe that after TVs and laptops and smartphones, the car will be the next mobile device. Thank you very much. Any questions? Yes?
Who pays the Uber driver?
Amazon.
Have the contributions of Amazon?
Yeah, so actually if you're buying from Amazon, if you're buying from ASOS, okay, every product that you're purchasing, we get a cut, like a percentage. It can be 5, 10, 20, depends on the product, it depends on the category, okay, groceries is less, fashion is more, so they're paying us. We keep a small cut because we need to make a living, you know. And then we're moving most of it back to the passenger, either for this ride or for a credit for future rides. And mobility companies like the credits for 2 reasons. First of all, like Peter said, it's a loyalty program. It drives more growth to mobility companies. The second thing is, in the world of credits and miles and cashback, most of the people don't use the credits. And in that way, this money that Amazon or ASOS are paying is like free money to the pocket of the mobility services. Yeah.
So I wonder, like, how is your model aligned with the incentives today? First of all, I think we have to think beyond Uber and Lyft. Yeah, hopefully we will achieve that. But you know, like when you use click and collect, that means the trip is shorter for the individual driver, right?
Sorry, what is it?
The trip becomes shorter, right?
It can be shorter, it can be longer, it can be a different destination, or let's say you're using, you want to buy diapers to your baby on Boots or CVS or whatever, and we know that like 50 meters from your destination there's a Boots or a CVS, and you go there, collect it, and ride for free or ride for less.
You I guess like the question is why doesn't the consumer just shop on Amazon or whatever it is?
They can do that and pay for the ride, or they can do that through the app and ride for free. That's an incentive. We believe in a win-win-win situation. The consumer needs to get something back, okay? To be loyal to the mobility service in that way and get something in return. It's a bit like, you know, in shopping malls. I know in Israel it used to be very popular. I'm sure that in other places you go, and if you buy for $50, you park for free. Okay? The same way, if you buy for $50, $60, you can ride for free.
Does the driver get a cut of it?
The driver gets whatever he's paid for. He gets paid the same.
Which is not very much if he drives for Uber.
Well, yeah.
Last question. Not an obvious one for me. Do you have a model for public transportation? Have you
Sure.
discussed this with
Sure. So our first, we're starting, it's public, right? We're starting to work with Deutsche Bahn, the German railway station, railway company, national railway company. Actually, I was in Berlin like 2 weeks ago when we got accepted to their program. And for us, it's very exciting because, you know, Uber is the biggest ride-hailing service in the world. They have today around 8 million rides each day. Deutsche Bahn has 4.652 billion rides each year. So that's a huge company, and on that, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Former journalist and ecosystem. So our next startup is Anagog. Anagog's technology is being used in more than 100 smartphones all over the world. And in July, actually, one of our group brands, Skoda, has invested in this startup. And the CEO of Skoda, who is here, Bernard Meyer, said that working and using the technologies of Anagog will help Skoda to better understand their customer needs. So, Udi, why don't you explain to us this quote? And yeah.
Thank you very much. Let me just start with one small correction. Anagog's technology is with 100 partners, and actually 25 million people around the world. Small difference. Great. So what I'd like to do is I'll tell you a little bit about Anagog, but go into some use cases and services that we're working today with the automotive industry. And I just want to start where Peter left off. Peter spoke about personalization, knowing your customer journey, location services. There was a question from the audience about GDPR. So all these things is what Anagog addresses and what we do. A little bit about the company. We've been around for 7 years, so we're not a typical startup. First 5 years were in the garage. The last 2 years we really accelerated. And very recently, both Skoda and Porsche, part of the Volkswagen Group, have invested in us. And also Daimler, or Mercedes-Benz. Anyone here, by the way, from Mercedes?
Porsche.
Porsche, okay. So, great. So we've developed an AI engine that sits on the handset. And it taps into the sensors of the handset. And it understands what the handset owner is doing from a mobility perspective. Walking, running, cycling. Understands where he's doing it, or she. At home, in the office, on the 48th floor of this building. And then by understanding all the patterns and the behavior, taking all this data, the AI engine will try to forecast and predict what you're going to do next. Now, because we have a lot of information,
We can also supply business analytics on any business and intelligence on any location. And what I'll do at the end of this short presentation is show you some demos how we do it. So the AI engine, it's called JEDI. And it sits, as I said, on the handset. So it's an SDK, basically. It's not an app. And we partner with, we integrate it into the apps of our partners. So Skoda or Porsche, they need to have a mobile app in order to benefit from JEDI. And it works with all these different sensors that you can see. So the gyroscope, barometer, the accelerometer, and so on and so forth. And by tapping into them, we understand mobility and we understand location. The unique thing about JEDI is that all the information stays on the handset. So by default, we're not communicating to the cloud. This is very important because of GDPR and privacy. So in essence, my handset knows all the information about me. This is the default. The second benefit is battery consumption. So because we're not sending billions of packets of information over the air, then we're not using the battery a lot, A. And B, because we use multiple sensors, for example, to understand location, we won't be tapping into the GPS only, which is very heavy on the battery. So what can JEDI understand today in terms of mobility, walking, running, cycling, driving? We can understand if you're the driver or if you're the passenger, which is really important for all the different use cases that were mentioned before. We can understand if you're awake, if you're asleep, or we can understand your sleeping patterns, if you're sleeping enough during the night. And in terms of location, so JEDI will learn where you live, JEDI will learn where you work, and JEDI can then understand your journey throughout the day. So we'll understand how you got to work, okay, where you stopped, if you've entered a certain area, if you've exited a certain area, if you're approaching your car, if you're leaving your car. So this is what we can do in terms of location and mobility. Now, if you combine the location and you combine the mobility, and you understand what you're doing, when you're doing it, and where you're doing it, in essence, JEDI can build a profile about each and every person. And remember, this profile is on the handset. So privacy, GDPR, by default, it's on the handset. So, for example, if I, let's build a profile about myself, okay, to best illustrate it. I cycle. I like cycling on a bike. I do it typically 3 times a week, early in the morning. I do it with the phone in my back pocket in my jersey. So JEDI understands that I'm cycling. Twice a week, I go to the beach early in the morning. I live not too far away from the beach, and I go swimming in the beach. Okay, so I don't take the phone in the water, obviously, but I'll park my car on the beach. So JEDI understands I've gone to the beach. This all happens before 7 a.m. 8 a.m., I take my kids, I drop them off at school. Now, because I drive away, JEDI can understand that I'm not a student and I'm not a teacher. So I have children. I get in my car, my phone is connected to the hands-free to the Bluetooth. By the Bluetooth sensor, JEDI can say what kind of car I'm driving. So I can be driving a Skoda, I can be driving a Porsche, I can be driving whatever car, because every Bluetooth signal typically says what the make of the car is. I go to the train station, park my car. Okay, I go to the train station in Binyamina, which is up north. Get on the train, commute to Tel Aviv. I do this typically 3 times, maybe 4 times a week. So I'm a commuter, I use the train. Come home in the afternoon, maybe once, maybe twice a week, I'll go out to a restaurant. Okay, JEDI understands different POIs, points of interest. Okay, I'll go out to a bar, I'll go out to a restaurant, so I can classify myself as a moderate consumer of entertainment. And because I'm leading all the sales of analog, I travel very often. So I'm also a frequent flyer. So JEDI can build a profile about me. I like sport, I like cycling, I like the beach, I have children, I drive a specific car, I'm a commuter, my patterns of entertainment are moderate, I'm a frequent flyer, and actually JEDI knows how many hours every night I sleep. Okay? So there's numerous things that Jedi can tell us about the person. Now, back to Peter's opening speech. This is personalization. Today, the auto manufacturers, they don't know loads about their customers, as was stated earlier. Okay? This is gold. This is first-party data in the jargon of advertising, as opposed to third-party data. And this connects into the DMP as well if we want to target different people. Now, if we have these profiles, and then Volkswagen, for example, can build segments, take our data, and add it to their data, and then it does the segmentation. And then another usage of it is if they want to do user acquisition, to find similar customers that are already driving their cars. You can do a lookalike audience campaign. Just a few examples. So you can see the different things here, what the annual mileage, how much time on the road, the driving style. Am I a careless driver? Am I driving and playing with my phone while I'm driving? Very interesting for the insurance companies. Now, every automotive company has a financial services division that sells motor insurance. Occupation, where I work, home-life balance, sleeping quality, traveling, and so on and so forth. So very quickly, one use case that we've done, actually with Mercedes, and this app is commercially available. It's available in Germany, by the way. They build an app that simulates the performance of electric vehicles. So people are afraid or hesitant buying electric vehicles. One of the reasons is that the battery won't last the journey. What Mercedes said was to these potential customers, keep driving whatever you're driving. Put this app on your handset, at the end of the day, turn it on, and then choose any electric vehicle that you want. And at the end of the day, it would tell them how much battery is left based on their driving behavior. And this is with all of Animo's technology. So very briefly, let's go into some use cases. One, understanding driver behavior. So, and contextualized offering. So I mentioned that. Once we understand the profile of the driver, what they like to do out of the car, OEMs can then approach them and give them tailored offerings. Arriving to the car services. Jedi understands when you're close to the car. Turn the air conditioning on, for example. Churn prediction, purchasing intent. We have 25 million people in the database, and we analyze what car, those that changed their cars. So we know what car they were driving one day, and then what car they're driving the next day. And we understood all the people that changed cars. The data scientists then looked at their behavior prior to buying a new car. So we can flag for our partners which of their customers will potentially change cars. User-based insurance, a lot of companies now are offering pay as you drive, pay how you drive, pay when you drive, where you drive. It's all done by using a dongle. This dongle costs about $100. Someone needs to pay that $100. But we're offering it based on Jedi on the handset, which also recognizes who the driver is. It's not one dongle is for one car. So there can be 3 people driving that car. With Jedi, each person has his own handset. Location intelligence, dealership analysis. So I don't know if time will allow it. I can show you a demo. The time doesn't allow. But based on all the people that have Jedi in their handsets, we can see all of them that enter the dealership. So we can take, and we've done that actually, a Skoda dealership, a Volkswagen dealership, a Porsche dealership, and a Mercedes dealership, and compare how many people came, where they came from, how long they stayed there, where they went after, all anonymized, we don't know who they are. Okay? And this is loads of useful information. Now this can be done for a dealership, it can be done for a shopping mall, it can be done for a hospital, it can be done for any point of interest that we decide. Collision detection and notification. So again, was mentioned earlier, collision detection today is done by telematic systems. Typically, if the airbag is activated, the telematic systems will tell you that. But what happens if the airbag isn't activated? Small kinds of collisions. Again, Jedi, we have a patent that recognizes small collisions. So the accelerometer will understand you've stopped, and then there's typical various patterns what will happen after an accident. You might go out, walk around the car, you recognize walking, take a picture, you recognize taking a picture. So basically basically, there are loads of different examples, loads of different use cases. We're working on all of these use cases with various partners of ours. It was kind of short. I won't be able to show you any demos. Thank you.
Stick around if people have questions, and we're a bit short on time, so we'd like to respect people's time. Uri will stay here, so you can approach him and ask him, and I'm sure you have the time to discuss further. Our last startup is White Raven. I'd like to invite our last speaker. White Raven has been around for 5 years. It's a startup that develops the computer vision algorithm that can recognize urban environments for the car industry. Thanks, Adrian.
Hi, good morning everybody. I'm Adrian, the VP Business Development of White Raven. And White Raven is redefining the concept of journey experience of connected vehicle passengers. But today, we are going to talk about location-based journey experience. So I believe this kind of expression is pretty familiar, but quite frankly, if you look it up on Google, you won't find any definition or product or services that make use of this expression. So I suggest that we will start the presentation by breaking this expression down to fully understand this expression and how we can exploit it. So we will start to talk about location-based. As you know, there are different kinds of location-based. It can be location-based advertising, location-based gaming, location-based promotion. But all of them need to use outside sensors, which means GPS or Wi-Fi routers or NFC or beacons. And all of this equipment needs to be installed, cost money, and it's pretty not that easy to use. So I would like to present you a new kind of location-based technology, which is visual recognition. For the last 5 years, we developed visual recognition algorithms that can help us to understand exactly what you see in real time in the urban environment. This means that if you will take your phone or your car camera and you would look outside, I can tell you exactly what is every building here, what is the facade of the building, the contour of it, and then we can use augmented reality in order to project content on them. This technology is very, very accurate, and that way we can create a huge improvement, let's say, the last mile delivery industry. Let's see how we can do that. So, if you know, the last mile delivery industry, although the increased demand, which led by Amazon, actually suffer from a lot of difficulties, high competition, low efficiency, and we can improve it. So as you can see, I can tell the driver exactly where he needs to stop and where is the exact address. And that way, we can save a lot of time and a lot of money. Based on our research, the UPS, which owns 55,000 carriers in the United States, the last mile delivery cost is 50% of the total cost of the entire delivery. Each drop takes 4 minutes in average and happens every 1.9 miles. With our technology that can help the driver to understand where he needs exactly to stop, we can save 25 seconds from each drop, which say that we can improve the workforce of the drivers by 6.5% and to create 6.6% increase in the revenue of UPS, which is $80 million annually in the United States alone. The most interesting in that is the fact that with our technology, all the hardware becomes redundant. All we need to use is a front-facing camera inside the vehicle and a touchscreen, and that we can translate in real time what the passengers see there and project the right information in the right place and in the right way. So let's now talk about the second part of the expression, journey experience. According to literature, there are 5 stages for journey experience, which are awareness, consideration, purchase, intention, and purchasing. Each one of them can be used by different media, like desktop, mobile devices, TV, personal relation, or media in the blog, and physical store and online stores, and so on and so on. But what if we can create a combined platform that enables you to do all these actions in one place at one time? What if you can do all of these actions in the same system? You can discover, to explore, to buy, and then to share your impression with your friends or everything in one place. So let's see how we can do that with computer vision and augmented reality. So you probably know the social media is flooded with pictures and videos, and each one of them are very personal. And you're allowed to watch them because it's personal and it's something that you are interested in. But what if we will take this video and pictures, and then because we can understand exactly the location, the exact location of everything, and the places there, we can actually combine the commercial information there. So that way, your personal shared concept, which is unique and worth watching information, becomes a branded impression. That way, we can create a whole new way of promotion, of advertising, and a new real estate for branded impressions. Now, after we talked about location-based and we talked about journey experience, let's combine these two and put it inside the vehicle. This is the reason why we are here today. And then, we create these kind of experiences. So, while riding in any kind of vehicle that has a front-facing camera and a touchscreen, you can interact and explore your physical environment. This is a real project from London with the tourist bus open up bus. While there are 40 passengers inside one bus, we can create 40 different experiences. So you can tap on the name of the business and then to get any kind of information. If it's a menu or to reserve seats in restaurants, or to buy tickets to the theater, or to see your social feed, your Instagram pictures of your friends from the restaurant that ate there last night. And now it's a whole new way to consume digital content. So basically, white training is the visual browser of the vehicle. We can translate what the passengers see in real time into opportunity to present them the right information in the right place. That's it. If you have any more questions, I will be happy to answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So to wrap up today, what we've seen is the OEM, the group point of view, the academy point of view, and the startup solutions to start bringing this vision into reality. Today we feel like there's many solutions that exist and are ready to be adopted. And also for the startups, something that I forgot to mention before, startups and industry and everyone in the ecosystem, one of the two things we feel that are missing today is one, pilot. We talked about going to the adaptathon, and the other one, we hear a lot, and also these startups are hiring today. And we see that these technologies that you're developing today is not very old industry, automotive, but we need to start bringing from sister industries into ours. So what we're going to do after Hanukkah is a Smart Transportation Job Fair, where we can offer new positions and start bringing new people into our community. And of course, these exact moments are the moments to come share the opportunities that you have here today. Right now, we're going to break for mingle and networking. Share each other what you're looking for, what you want to do if you're doing your next round soon. I know there's a few here that are looking to raise, a few here that are looking to hire, and this is exactly what the meetups are for. I would like to thank again the wonderful KONNECT team and the whole Volkswagen Group. You guys are amazing, and thank you for hosting today and collaborating on this wonderful meetup. And thank you all for coming, and we'll see you in the next event.